100 poets, one poem each. Number 9. The poem Hana no iro wa utsuri ni keri na itazura ni waga ni furu nagame seshi mani. The color of the flower has faded away to nothing while I was lost in thought, watching the long rains fall, growing older in this world. 31 syllables, the 9th poem in the anthology of 100, the first poem, An Emperor in a Field, the second poem, An Empress on a Mountain, the third, A Long Night Alone, the fourth, Snow on Fuji, the fifth, A Deer in Autumn Leaves, the sixth, Stars That Look Like Frost, the seventh, A Moon Above China, the eighth, A Monk Who Smiles at the World's Assumptions, and now the 9th poem, the most famous woman in Japanese literary history, the most beautiful woman, they said, the most mysterious. Her poem is about watching beauty disappear while you were not watching. The poet. Her name was Ono no Komachi, the only woman among the 6 poetry immortals, the Rakusen, the 6 greatest poets of the early Heian period. She was called one of the 3 great beauties of the world, alongside Cleopatra and Yang Guifei, the beauty of Egypt, the beauty of China, the beauty of Japan. This is what the tradition says. Almost none of it can be verified. Her birth date is unknown. Her death date is unknown. Where she was born is disputed. What rank she held at court is disputed. The stories told about her are almost entirely legend. She was real. Her poems are real. 18 poems of hers are in the Hyakunin Isshu. More than 60 appear in imperial anthologies. The voice is real. The rest is legend, and the legend is extraordinary. Ki no Tsurayuki's praise. He praised the others, or criticized them, or both at once, in his beautiful way. For Komachi he used a different register. He said her poems were like a noble woman who is suffering, full of feeling but not strong, moving but not forceful, like a beautiful woman with something troubling her. This is the most sympathetic of his evaluations, the most human. He does not compare her to a natural phenomenon, to a moon or a bird or a river. He compares her to a person, a beautiful person in some private distress. This tells us something about what her poetry felt like to him, that it felt intimate, that it felt like access to something a person was actually feeling, rather than a demonstration of what a poem can do. The Legend of the 100 Nights. Among all the stories told about Komachi, the most famous is this one. A man called Fukakusa no Shosho fell in love with her. He asked her to be with him. She said, "Come to me 100 nights, 100 nights in a row, if you come every night for 100 nights, and mark your coming on the shafts of my carriage. I will believe in your sincerity, and then we can talk." He came. Night after night, 99 nights he came. He marked each night on the carriage shaft. He was almost there, 1 night remaining, 1 mark from the 100. On the 99th night, he died. Some versions say illness, some say heartbreak, some say she sent him away on that night, and the rejection was what killed him. Whatever the cause, 99 nights, 1 mark short, the man who had come every night for more than 3 months did not make it to the 100th. The story is probably not true. It appears too perfectly shaped, too much like a parable about the cost of cruelty and the cost of longing, but it is the story that has followed her for 1,000 years, the beautiful woman who demanded proof, the man who almost proved it, the single night that was not there. The legend of the old age, the second great legend of Komachi, is crueler. She was the greatest beauty of her time. Then time did what time does. In the legend, she did not age gracefully into a dignified old woman who sat in a pleasant house, surrounded by people who remembered her fame. She aged into poverty, into wandering, into the particular shame of someone whose identity was built on beauty and who outlived the beauty. The no play Sotoba Komachi shows her in old age, bent, ragged, wandering, still sharp, still fierce, but worn by what the years had done, still capable of poetry, still capable of devastating the monks who try to lecture her about the Dharma by answering them in their own Buddhist terms and leaving them unable to respond. This is the Komachi the tradition chose to remember, not only the beauty and the aftermath, the rose and the winter of the rose. The wordplay. The poem is famous for its density, 5 layers of meaning in 31 syllables. The first, Hana no iro, the color of the flower, specifically, almost certainly, the color of the cherry blossom, the pink-white of the thing, that blooms for a week and then is gone, but also the color of a woman, her complexion, her beauty, her prime. The second, utsuri ni keri na, faded away, changed, past. The sigh at the end, na, the little syllable that carries the feeling of something realized too late, not just it has faded, but, alas, it has faded. The recognition and the grief at once. The third, yoni furu, 2 meanings perfectly superimposed. Yoni furu as to fall upon the world, rain falling. Yoni furu as to pass through life, to grow old. The rain that falls and the years that pass in the same syllables. The fourth, nagame, also 2 meanings, the long rains of spring. Nagame, the rain that goes on, and also the gazing, the thoughtful looking outward, the particular act of sitting by a window, watching the rain, and thinking about something else entirely, or not thinking at all, just being with the rain, being with the passing, all of this in 31 syllables, the flower, the fading, the sighing, the rain, the passing, the gazing, the growing old while not noticing what the poem is about. There are 3 readings. As with most great poems in this anthology, The simplest reading, a spring poem. The cherry blossoms have faded because of the long spring rains. The poet was watching the rain and thinking of something else, and when she looked up, the blossoms were already gone. The second reading, a poem about aging. The flower of her own beauty has faded in the same way, while she was distracted, while she was waiting for something, while she was watching the rain fall and not quite paying attention to what was happening to herself. The third reading, a love poem. She was waiting for someone. She was sitting by the window, watching the rain, and hoping someone would come. And in the hoping and the waiting, the thing she was hoping for never arrived, and the time passed, and the beauty passed, and she is left with the rain and the awareness that the waiting was the cost. All three are present. All three are true. This is why the poem has lasted more than 1,000 years. The world's most famous beauty, Cleopatra, ruled Egypt. Yang Guifei inspired the greatest poem in Tang Dynasty China, and Ono no Komachi wrote this, not a poem about being beautiful, a poem about watching beauty go, not a celebration, a meditation on the thing that passes, while you are not quite watching. The flower was beautiful, and then the rains came, and then the beauty was over, and you were still sitting there, older, watching the rain, thinking, this is what the most beautiful woman in Japan's literary tradition chose to write about, not the beauty, the fading of it, the way it went while you were not quite looking. Hana no iro wa utsuri ni keri na itazura ni waga yo ni furu nagame seshi. The color of the flower faded while I was watching the rain, while I was growing older, while I was not quite paying attention.